NBA 2K18 for the Nintendo Switch requires extra storage for the game to even be playable. Some people are mad at Nintendo for not including enough storage on the Nintendo Switch, but I think 2K Sports are probably the ones being dicks here, and let me tell you why. When Nintendo revealed that the Switch was going to have 32 gigabytes of internal storage, everybody flipped their shit since it's pretty common for games in 2017 to be bigger than that. So if you want to download any games that are bigger than 32 gigabytes, you're going to have to buy a microsd card. When I first found this out, I didn't think it was that big of a deal since I assumed you could just buy physical copies of games and be all set. But the other day it was revealed that NBA 2K18 is going to require a microsd card to even be able to play a physical copy of the game. The issue here could be that 2K is selling an incomplete cartridge with the rest of the game to be downloaded in a patch. If that's true, then they could be doing this because they want to pay less for Switch game cards and would rather have everybody else pay for extra storage out of their own pocket. To publish games on the Nintendo Switch, you have to pay more money for cards that hold more storage. The sizes come in 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, and 32 gigabytes. NBA 2K17 for the PlayStation 4 is 47.66 gigs. So if NBA 2K18 is the same size for the Switch, then even on a 32 gigabyte cartridge, you'd still need 15 gigs of storage on the console to download the rest of the game. So if you have to download even some of the game, then I can't really knock 2K for only wanting to pay for, say, a 16 gigabyte cartridge. But this image here implies that you'd have to download over 32 gigabytes to your internal storage. So you don't just need a lot of storage, apparently you need more than the Switch even has to begin with. Judging by the phrasing internet download and microsd card required, I'm assuming this doesn't mean it only applies for the digital download of the game. If you plan to download full retail games to the Switch, then no poop you're gonna need a microsd card. But the thing is, I highly doubt the file size for the Switch version would be as big as the PS4 since it won't be as powerful. In fact, the game size is apparently around 25 gigs, meaning it'd fit just fine on a 32 gigabyte cartridge. So if the game really is 25 gigs, then 2K is probably using smaller game cards to save money. And if that's true, then fuck you, 2K. There's no way a day one patch would require more than 32 gigabytes. I mean, if that's the case, then this game's probably fucked. And I'm assuming the day one patch would be over 32 gigabytes since I keep reading everywhere that you need a microsd card. And if that's not the case, then you need to change the dang box art to say internet download and microsd card may be required. It's a dick move to force people to buy SD cards just so you can save a little bit of money. I understand there's smart business decisions that need to be made when you're running any kind of company, let alone one as big as 2K Sports. And if the game's bigger than 32 gigabytes and people have to download part of it to the console anyway, then you might as well save some money and pay for smaller cartridges since a company like 2K probably wants everything to be digital anyway. But if the game really is only 25 gigs, then pony up the dough and fit the full game on the cartridge like you're supposed to. You could argue that it's Nintendo's fault for not having more internal storage built into the Switch, but I'm gonna walk the fine line of Nintendo fanboy territory and defend Nintendo's decision of only having 32 gigabytes available, and I'll tell you why. I think keeping the Switch as cheap as possible was the best move for Nintendo to make. If N-Dog included more than 32 gigabytes for the Switch, then the console would have probably cost around $50 more anyway. So why not give people the option of how much they want to expand their storage by, if any at all, instead of having different models? I mean, with the Switch being hard enough to find as it is, could you imagine going to buy one but only having the option to get like an 8 gig model? You'd be pissed. It's easier and cheaper to just let people decide how much extra storage they want and for all Switches to be created equal. If you wish Nintendo would have priced their system higher and had more storage, then what's the big deal about buying an extra microsd card for the 32 gigabyte Switch? I mean, they're tinier than my peen, and installing it, if you could even call it that, requires no effort or tools. I'd be way more harsh on this if Nintendo were selling extra storage cards for insane prices, but they're not even making money on any of these microsd cards that are being sold since they're not even the ones manufacturing them. I know Nintendo just partnered with SanDisk for some reason to make disposable Nintendo-themed packages for non-Nintendo-themed microsd cards that are compatible with the Switch, but I don't imagine N-Dog will be making much off of that. It's not like when the Vita came out and Sony made their own memory cards at ass-high prices, and you needed extra storage for that. So I honestly think that Nintendo wanted to keep the Switch as cheap as possible for consumers since most people probably won't even use the extra storage to begin with, so why make everybody pay more? And if you want some extra giggies, then it's an easy fix. Now, if adding more internal storage wouldn't have cost that much to do in the first place, then I'll politely but firmly direct a fuck you right at Nintendo. I just don't think that to be the case. And yeah, 2K doesn't have a problem with having massive day one patches on other consoles that have more storage, but whatever happened to putting the entire game on physical media, you ding-dongs? That's one of the best things about having physical media. Why is that a thing of the past, and why is everybody so accepting of this being commonplace? Look, Nintendo does a lot of stupid, stubborn shit, and gets left in the past with things like online gaming and YouTube videos of gameplay, which falls into my next point of having poor marketing. But sometimes Nintendo's resistance of change works in our favor, with the prime example being having their games actually being finished when they're released, and by having the full versions of their games on physical media. I know they have day one patches too, but even if you don't download them, you can still play the game. Their day one patches usually just update small things that most people wouldn't even notice anyway, with the exception of the Skyward Sword and Pokemon X and Y glitches from a few years ago. Sorry, Reggie-san, but you fucked up on those. But even though the problems regarding those games were big if you encountered them, most most people didn't, especially with Skyward Sword, since you'd have to do a series of specific events to trigger the glitch that'd make the game unbeatable. I'm not excusing the glitch, it was bullshit, but at least Nintendo didn't release a game when it was halfway finished and just thought, you know what, we'll have a day one patch and finish it up later. The main point I'm trying to make is that if the Switch version of NBA 2K18 actually is only 25 gigs, then 2K Sports are totally just being dicks, either for not putting the game on the appropriate 32GB cartridge, or for not finishing the damn game before releasing it. This could be a problem for AAA third-party games though, and Nintendo should want to attract those to the Switch. And if a game like GTA 5's 50 gigs, then it is unfortunate to be a Switch owner who wants to play those kinds of games but won't buy an SD card. Personally, I didn't have a problem spending an extra $40 on a 128GB microSD card, since I'll probably download a lot of digital indie games. And I don't necessarily have a problem with developers making games bigger than the physical media if it makes the game better, but if you're making a game that can fit on a game card or disc, then don't be a cheap ass and make us download the rest of it. Otherwise, these games will just be obsolete after they stop receiving online support. And yes, I know none of these companies care about that, but power to the consumer, damn it. Anyway, do you think requiring extra storage is even that big of a deal? Is Nintendo to blame for not including more, or is 2K being dastardly? Let me know in the comments down below, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you're cool, which I'm sure you're all cool, right? Thanks for watching. My name's Cameron, and I'll see you next time if I don't die an untimely death in a fiery car crash.
So I want to say thank you to your loyalty. Thank you for your support.